God-sized story.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of God-Sized Stories. Not only do I have a guest today, but I have a very special guest co-host as well. You may recognize my co-host. It is Jennifer Ostrander. Jennifer, remind the audience of who you are.
Hi, everyone. I've been on a previous episode before. I think that I talked about being a teacher and what I learned in all of that. But I get to be here today, and you are tuning in to a very special episode because I have my close friend here, Adiel.
Ooh. So tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Adiel. I'm the son of a king of kings, the son of Paco, the son of Itzo. I'm basically a trucker. I used to work over the road, all over the country. And right now I'm working local. I'm working here in Lake County. That's pretty much it.
Cool. How did you get into trucking? Trucking is it fascinates me because it's not a thing that I could do. There's no way in the world I could sit anywhere all day, let alone be in something like a truck all day.
I basically, my uncle was a trucker, so I grew up seeing it. So seeing it kind of gave me okay, I saw the path, because I used to see how he lived, the houses, and he was well off. He would just be at home sitting on the couch. It didn't look like he was stressing. So seeing, I guess, that example got me into it, because, okay, he's not doing that bad. He doesn't seem like he's stressing. He's doing fine financially. I'm going to try it. I liked it. I ended up loving it because I got to travel and I got paid for it. I got to see the country, and that was part of my job.
So one of the things that we might be thinking about, and as I'm just thinking about this, because I know my mom thought of being a trucker and driving big semi-trucks. What does it look like for you on a day-to-day basis? What do you do?
It's definitely early starts. Sunrise to sunset for sure. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. The first thing is you have to make sure everybody gets home. That's your biggest priority. No crashes, no accidents, nothing. The second thing is making sure that everything in the truck is safe. You don't want the trailer to fall off. And have a whole accident behind you. You are miles away. When you look in the mirror, you notice that you're not carrying the trailer no more. So you just got to make sure. It's a lot of stress, honestly, because you got to make sure everything's on point, and then that everybody's safe around you. It's a giant truck. It's a monster. So honestly, you have to be very responsible.
Yeah, I do not like driving behind those big trucks. They're huge.
So with this, it's a very unique job. Very few people do that compared to, Jennifer and I have both been teachers in the past, but so many other people, they work a desk job. They could be very different, but it's still, at the end of the day, a desk job for a lot of people. So I'm sure it gives you a very unique opportunity to witness by being in a job that's different from most people.
It's definitely... I get to meet a lot of people, and it's not your local people. I get to travel from city to city, so it really varies. When I started, I used to tell God to use me while driving. I used to pray everybody that I meet, let me pour out life to them. If I'm going to be out here, let me be light to those around me. Even if it's as small as giving a smile, I would just tell God to use me. And everywhere I went, God answered, even if it was for a brief moment. Even if they experienced peace through me for a bit, I would see it. Even if I would just laugh at the dock, at the factory as I was getting unloaded, I could definitely see God moving and using me. There's no coincidence. So I always tell God, the people that you put in my path, let me be a blessing to them. Let me speak what you want me to speak to them. Whatever you have to say, any words of affirmation, talk to me, use me. And he did answer, because I've met a lot of people that I was told to say certain things. Sometimes we just go up to him and hug him. I was like, God, this is a complete stranger. But I was like, do it. So God held me to it, honestly. And it was a beautiful experience.
Did you think that you would ever find yourself in a situation where you'd be across the country having to hug strangers or say things to strangers that may have been odd?
No, I never thought. No, because who thinks that? Like, you know what? Today I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna hug a stranger. But at the end of the day, it's God. It's God. I remember I was driving I-57 on the south end of Illinois. It was like 9 p.m. at night. And then God said, stop here at a gas station. Basically, it was a truck stop. I was done with my hours. I had the option of stopping wherever I wanted or to keep going, just to get ahead. You have free time the next day, so I usually keep going. But I stopped. I actually listened, and I pulled up, and it was one of those McDonald's / gas stations, and I parked my truck, and I go inside the building. And then God's just silent. So I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I walk over to the gas station, it's like nothing. And then I walk into the McDonald's, and that's attached to the station, and I see an old man. And he was one of the truckers, one of my trucker brothers, basically. And I could tell he was a trucker. He had like baggy eyes, and his eyes were locked. He was still tense and firm. And I hear God say, like, that's him. And I was like, okay. And so I go up to him and I ask him if he's hungry. And then when you're a trucker, there's times that even though you make a lot of money, you have $0 in your bank account. Because any truck problem, like you need new tires or you need a tow truck, is about $2,000 to $5,000. So it's normal for someone to just sit at a truck stop with nothing. I noticed that he was kind of like in a fog. Whatever it was, he wasn't present there with me in the moment. So I offered him to get him some coffee and food. And he says, yeah, but he's like, it's like a delayed reaction. He still hasn't processed that someone was talking to him. So I come back with everything and I sit and I present myself and start talking to him. It wasn't like 2 minutes into it, his eyes start watering and I found out his mom just died. And he was over the road working. He didn't get a chance to go say goodbye or to go to the hospital. She pretty much died of a heart attack. When you're a trucker and like these type of cases happen, when it's like life and death and in the present situation, like the company is like very understanding. So they usually tell you to park the truck to get a cab, and then you go to the airport and they fly you out. The company usually does that. But in this case, it happened too fast and he didn't get a chance to go back.
Were you that first person that he talked to?
Yeah, I was kind of like, and that's why I understood, like, why am I here? Okay. Like, why this gas station? By now, I know, I'm not going nowhere. I have to park my truck, and this is where I'm not going to get some extra miles. So I start speaking life into him. I start talking to him. I asked him, dude, to give me all the good memories that he had with her. And as he's speaking, I can tell that he's starting at the transition from the shock stage to the venting, pouring out and letting it all out stage, because I'm pretty sure he was stuck in the shock stage. And now the tears won't start flowing and I'm crying too. I don't notice, but I'm feeling him. And long story short, he tells me that his mom was a pastor. But he never believed none of that, and that's I guess that's when I understood, okay, now I know why I'm here. This is kind of
yeah.
So I just go off. I just go off. So it's you know where she's at then, right? And he goes cold. And then you understand why she lived the way she lived, right? And then I told him, I guaranteed him, she's in the kingdom in this moment, and she's way better off than you and me right now. And I told him the whole resurrection verse, that he who believes in me, even though they were dead, shall live. So in my head, I asked God, do I present to him the plan of salvation? Do I ask him to accept you? And God says no. And then God said, just tell him he knows what to do. So I do. I just tell him, you know what to do. And so his eyes opened real wide, and I saw peace in him. But that's pretty much it. After that, he kind of left. So I don't know what that meant for him in his life, or what happened, or what is of him, but I just did what I could, basically. And that's just one of them. That's just one of the times where it's God. And it wasn't that crazy because he didn't get saved, but I did get a chance to let him vent, and it was very directed by this guy right here. Again, this is all out of my town. This is out somewhere else. This is all with strangers that I probably never meet. I don't know if I'll ever meet him again. That's one of the cases where I felt like God used me other cases, it was even crazier. In 2019, I was in Iowa, Route 80, heading towards Iowa. I was going to Davenport, and then there was this ice storm. It was in 2019. It was bad, because I remember I was just driving, and my truck just slid perfectly from the right side to the left without me. The steering wheel was perfectly straight. It's just, you just feel the whole truck start to slide to the left, and there's nothing you can do because if you do any slight movement, the truck is gonna start zigzagging like a snake. And then it's one of those, like, it was snowing, like, it was so bad that, like, the snow was, like, coming horizontally. Like, it wasn't just coming down. It was pouring, like, so I couldn't see anything. If you've ever been in New York and driven into a cloud, it's, like, the same thing. It seems cool at first until you get in there and, like, you notice, like, I'm blind. This is worse than fog. I can't see anything. I was basically scared. If you know anything about Illinois has some of, like, the best lighting. Like, when you get to the downtown, like, it transitions from, like, a bronze gold to, like, a bright LED light. And then even though we pay taxes, it's kind of like we have nice roads. We have, like, 4-lane roads, and then we have nice lighting. But once you start leaving the city, it's just all open road. There's no lights. It's just the lights of your car. And then you can only see 10 feet in front of you. There's nothing that dictates, like, where the lines on the roads are.
You're driving a huge truck.
And in this point, we have, like, 2 feet of snow, and then I can't see anything. There's no lights, and I'm depending on my high beams.
That is my nightmare.
Everything about that tells me turn back. Don't go, turn back. Don't go, turn back.
So I'm basically using the bars on the side of the road to tell where the roads are. It's the ones that tell you the miles, how many miles you're on the highway. Or the basic bars that say 50, 60 miles per hour. That's how I know where the edges of the road, and I'm using that to, like, guide me on where to drive. So I call my company and tell them about the situation. And I didn't have much experience, basically. And I told them, like, yo, I'm scared. And I explained everything, like, I can't see. It's just bad. And then they gave me the green light, like, it's okay. Like, you could stop. You had a schedule. It's fine. And then, okay, cool. So I look in my mirror, and then I notice there's, like, a caravan of cars following me. There's, like, 15 to 20 cars, because it was a curve. And I could tell, like, okay, look, now I can see in the mirror, I could see everybody that was fine. I didn't notice. So I was about to, there was, like, 2 feet of snow. Oh, God. So I was basically making the tracks in the snow for them to follow, because it's a giant semi. And I was like, okay, look, I got to find somewhere to stop. Okay, so this is where it gets crazy, because God says, keep going. And then I was like, what do you mean keep going? Like, I just got the green light to stop. I'm scared. This is messed up. I can't see. And it says, nah, just don't stop. Keep going.
I wish you could just see the person in front of me, though, because if you look at Adiel, you would never know that he would be scared. And knowing him since I was very, very young, I cannot tell you that I have ever seen him scared. I don't ever remember him being the scared friend. And even when because we lead a young adults group at our church, I see him just pour wisdom and pour everything that goes against being fearful. And you just saying that God has led you to a place like this, and you just keep saying yes. And, like, from the start where you talked about the man to now you're in 2 feet of snow and
in the storm,
and God tells you no. So I want to hear the rest of the story.
So I basically, my company gave me the green light. It's okay to stop, but then God's like, don't stop. And I was like, but it's like, I'm scared. So what do you, and like, it's cool, God, like, but it's like, don't do it. So for 5 minutes, I was driving, going through the internal conflicts. Like, bro, just find somewhere it's cool, get on the bridge, but they're following you, whatever. Like, no, I was going through it. And then basically it was everything that I was seeing that, like, it was making me scared. Because I couldn't see in front of me. But there was people following me, so it's kind of like, what do I do? It was like about 10 feet. That was like the distance that I could see in front of me, but it was all snow, so it didn't even matter. So now I'm looking at the side, okay, that's where the pole is, so that means the road should be like at least 3 feet right here to the left of the pole. Now there's a curb, just slowly go into it. I was basically guessing where the road was because I couldn't, it was bad. About an hour passes until the storm stops. And then, so the level of stress that I felt after I was done is like, you guys don't understand. Like, I felt it was just bad. It's like when you're just trying to survive, and you're just doing everything you can to survive. My eyes were still locked. My muscles felt tense. I was still kind of shaking, but at the same time holding it down. And I got through that, and I got to my destination in Davenport, and I parked and I slept outside the factory. The next day, I unloaded my truck and loaded with them and started going back on that same road. When I was coming back, I got to see all the damage that happened. Wow. So basically, everybody that stopped had to be rescued.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It snowed about like 4 to 5 feet, so their cars got trapped under. And there was about like 30 semis flipped and about 70 normal cars that crashed. So it was about 120 cars. But the thing is, I got to drive back through that same road, so I got to see it was insane, honestly. The signs that were like, obviously that tell you the highway where to get off, they were like on the floor because like it would be like 3-4 cars that would ram into the poles.
Oh, yeah.
And they would be, I got to see like a car that hit a trailer, and then a car behind it squished it like a sandwich. Ooh. A car under 2 cars because it rammed it and it got T-boned, but then another one came on top of it, so it was under 2 cars. It was insane because I wanted to stop, but I would have been one of those people that had to be rescued. And then I was thinking all the people that were following me that I was laying down the path for, that I was marking the tracks on the snow. And I'm over here like, yo, I'm scared, okay? But it's at the same time, it's like, no, don't stop, keep going. Later on, I found out why, because it's like, if I stopped, I wasn't going to make it. I was going to have to be another one of those persons that got rescued, let alone the people that were behind me. That's when I really got, like, I got scarred, because I wanted to quit. That was the first time I was like, I can't. Like, what if I die out here? I'm going to be in another state, I'm going to die, and then my parents are going to get my body delivered. Like, how does this work? And I guess the reality kicked in that I'm really out here risking my life, driving this giant monster. And I remember I wanted to park the truck. I wanted to park the truck, get on a Greyhound, call the company, like, yo, guys, come pick up the truck because I'm done, and just go back and quit, I guess. It was the reality, I guess, of like, dude, this is insane. But I guess God protected me through it. And not just that, I was leading people through it.
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe that, Craig, this podcast, the name of it, God-sized stories, really speaks to stories like this, because not only did Adiel just tell us a story about how trucking has, going through the 2 feet of snow, leading the people through this trail that he has first marked himself, just tells the testimony of who God is. He led and marked the trail for us to even pass by, because if we would have been stuck, in that
we would have been. We're trapped, and we are those cars in the pile up and stuck under 4 or 5 feet of snow when we try to go not on the path laid for us.
Yeah, and God says, "Don't stop." And just like He told Adiel, "Don't stop." And Adiel, as scared as he was, in our daily life, tell me if I'm wrong, but in our daily life, walking as Christians, we're scared.
It can be scary.
And things get difficult, and you often have to walk through the 2 feet of trash in front of you to lead all the rest behind you so that they have a way out instead of being stuck by the things of this world. And because guess what? You're going to turn back one day, just like Adiel turned his truck back after he unloaded and loaded, and he saw
all the damage
he would have been stuck by.
Right.
That's powerful. I love it. And as you said, that is why the reasons like that are why this podcast came to be. And like, just as you were saying, Adiel, with like trying to hear from the Lord, like what He wants from you in your life. Like that was the thing for me, was like really reaching out to Him to be like, and then He kept presenting stories in my life and bringing people with stories. And I'm like, oh, that's what you're telling me. Well, I want to thank both of you because I'm excited. This is a wonderful opportunity for me to meet new people, but also to give friends and a sister in Christ just opportunity more to glorify you as well, Lord. I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so happy to lift his name up. Jennifer, I'm so blessed that you were willing to not only introduce us, but also to sit and be a co-host. This is a great opportunity to see the podcast grow and do something different. And Adiel, man, wow. Like, it's like we've only been recording for like 20 minutes and it's like, I feel like this could be a series of its own. It's, Life of the Trucker kind of thing, Jesus on the Road kind of thing. And it's like, I'm so excited about it. And it's like, oh man, I could do this all night. But I just want to thank you for being so obedient to the Lord. It brings me joy to see men and women out there just, no matter what they do, they're doing it fully in their heart to God. Whether it's scary, whether it's hard, whether it's easy.
Right.
It's like, no matter what it is, they're giving it to God. And I love that. It just, oh, man. So thank you for all that.
For sure. Well, I've seen beautiful things basically out there. It's because you spend a lot of time alone with God. In Minnesota, I got to see a crazy meteor shower.
Oh.
Like, there's like turquoise stars back to back to back to back to back. When I was in Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky area, like, I would park my truck. That one time I went with my cousin, he helped me. He was my co-pilot, and we climbed my truck, and then we're on top of the semi. We're looking at the stars. It was beautiful because there's no light pollution. So like you can see the line going through the sky. It's like a purple/pink. I don't know if it's the Milky Way, but it's just beautiful. You can see like 1,000 stars. It was a privilege because honestly, I got to spend a lot of alone time with God, and I got to travel and see His creation as well. And it was a very beautiful experience. Basically, I grew up in church. I'm gonna take a left turn. But just because I grew up in church doesn't make me like a Christian. And I hear a son of a tiger is not a tiger. That doesn't apply. It's like you have to find your own faith. You have to find your own God. So early on, there's the church culture. Things you should do, things you shouldn't do. Basically, when I was 17, I guess, my dad pulled me to the side and he basically said he needed to talk to me. And then I'll never forget the words he told me. He says, your whole life, every time you've had a problem or gotten in trouble, we've had to face the music for you, dealt with it. Every time something happened at school, whether if it was a driving ticket or any type of problem, we've had to cover for you because we're your parents. And the same goes for you spiritually. We pray for you. You get sick, we would pray for you. You had an important event, a tournament, a placement exam, a final, we would pray for you and do our part spiritually, believing that everything that we do it for God and that He has the final say. But he says you're about to be an official adult in society's eyes, and everything you do now falls on you. And if you get a ticket, you have to pay for it. If you go to jail, that's your fault for the choices you made. If you lease a car, or if you buy a home, you mess up your credit, that's under your name. So then he told me the same thing. Spiritually, we prayed and covered for you. We've taught you God's word, the church's doctrine, so that you don't leave His path basically when you're in adulthood. But then he basically reminded me that sin is its own consequence, that sin is its own punishment, and no one else is going to suffer from it but you for putting whatever it was like before your ticket to eternity, or putting whatever it was before your crown. So basically everything you do is going to come back to you, and all the fruits of the seeds that you planted are going to fall on you, and you're going to reap what you sow. Basically he was just reminding me, but he was just giving me that fair warning, like, look, now it's time for you to go into face the music basically on your own. And he basically said, go out there and show me that God's with you. Yeah. And I remember when he told me, they just like
Amen.
For any of you wondering how you do that, how do you show someone that God's with you? I love you.
Wow. I mean, I can just see it right now in your eyes. Like, you remember it to the T, and it hits you until today.
It was just one of those things like, this is not you speaking. This is, but you're warning me for a reason. And it's like, and it's good because it's like, this world's crazy, basically. We know who governs it, but we know who's really in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the reality we live in. Like, I know we're scared a lot of times because we're human. We got to go through these things, even though we're scared, even though we know the end result, even though we know we're winning, we're still going through it. And that's part of it. Just don't be scared. Keep pushing forward. Keep loving, pouring out life into others. Mm-hmm. Keep being life.
Even in the situations that where you're scared and you've been led what seems to be astray because you're so far away, you can't depend on anybody else. You're leading the pack.
Right.
Yep.
You're leading the pack. It's incredible just hearing from you, Adiel, because I've never heard the story. I've never even thought. A lot of times we think that practical jobs like that have nothing to do with God.
Right.
But God is in everything.
Oh, amen.
And the fact that you have come to the realization that God can use you in the quote unquote mundane, because really it's not mundane. When you're living in God's will, it's anything but mundane. So thank you for sharing your story and for coming here and being willing to just be open with everyone. And I know we've learned a lot. I keep looking to my left. That's where Craig is, and he is like, woo!
Woo is right.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And audience, as always, thank you so much for listening. I couldn't do this without you. Goodbye.